Blackwood's voice was calm but firm. For when I make my move. A deal with Blackwood. Naomi leaned over the map, eyes locked on the western states. You want our support? Fine. But we want something in return. Blackwood raised an eyebrow. I'm listening. She tapped the map over Nevada and the surrounding territories. Help High Noon take Nevada and the western states. If we're going to stand against Texas, Los Renacidos, and the old U.S. military, we need the West secured. Blackwood smirked, sitting back in his chair. Ah, so you want the wild Wild West under your control. Naomi crossed her arms. No. We want stability. High Noon already controls Arizona, Utah, New Mexico, and Colorado. But Nevada? It's a battleground. If we don't take it, someone else will. Blackwood tapped his fingers against the desk. And you expect me to use my influence to help you? Naomi met his gaze. That's the deal. Blackwood let the silence stretch before finally giving a slow nod. I'll help you take Nevada and the surrounding states. But the Pacific Coast? That's on you. Eleanor narrowed her eyes. Why? Blackwood stood and walked toward the window, looking over his city. The Pacific Coast is complicated. The warlords there are not like those in the Midwest or Texas. They're stronger, wealthier, and deeply entrenched. The remnants of Silicon Valley, the shipyards of the old world, the remnants of the Navy. There's power there that even I would hesitate to challenge. Naomi scoffed. So you're scared of them? Blackwood turned back with a grin. No, Miss Graves. I simply don't waste my resources on fights I don't need to win. Eleanor exchanged a look with Naomi. Blackwood was choosing his battles carefully. He was willing to back High Noon in Nevada because it benefited him. But the Pacific Coast? That was different. Naomi took a deep breath. Fine. We'll take the Pacific Coast ourselves. Blackwood's smile widened. Good. Then prove yourself. Take the coast and we'll talk about the future. The next steps. Naomi sighed, glancing at Eleanor. So what now? Blackwood turned back to the map. Now we prepare. He pointed to Nevada. I'll have my people begin disrupting rival factions. I'll make sure trade routes are redirected in your favor. But the fight will still be yours. Naomi nodded. That's all we need. Blackwood's smirk remained. Then I suggest you start moving. Because the battle for the West is just beginning. The weight of a name. Hale and Lex sat across from Deacon Rojas, the ruler of Florida's vast naval empire. The meeting had gone smoother than either of them had expected. Deacon Rojas had agreed to join them almost immediately. I already knew Texas and Los Renacidos would come for my waters. Rojas had said, leaning back in his chair. The smell of salt and cigar smoke thick in the air. But now I know I won't be fighting alone. He was a man who commanded fleets, he had held Florida together while the rest of the world fell apart. And he knew every inch of the Gulf. As they sat around a map of the region strategizing, a messenger barged into the room. Sir, the young man panted, handing over a sealed letter. Message from Blackwood. Rojas's expression darkened as he read. Blackwood's name appeared more than once. Hale frowned. Bad news. Rojas tossed the letter onto the table. No. Just a reminder of why I never expanded beyond Florida. Lex raised an eyebrow. You don't fear Texas or Los Renacidos. But Blackwood, you fear him. Rojas looked at them both, his expression unreadable. Fear? No. Respect. Deep, unshakable respect. He exhaled, running a hand over his beard. You two don't understand how lucky you are. Your people met the Mississippi King and lived to tell about it. Hale exchanged a glance with Lex. We know he's powerful, but you don't know shit. Rojas interrupted. Not really. You see, Texas is a war machine. Mexico wants to reclaim old land. But Blackwood? He already has everything he needs. He doesn't have to conquer, because he already controls everything without lifting a damn finger. Lex leaned forward. How? Rojas smirked, but there was no humor in it. Let me tell you a story. The Mississippi King's Reach. Rojas tapped the map, his fingers trailing along the Mississippi River. Years ago I sent a few ships west hoping to establish trade beyond the Gulf. I figured Texas was too busy fighting Mexico to notice, and no one else had a navy like mine. He took a slow drag from his cigar. I was wrong. His voice dropped lower. We made it up the Mississippi past Louisiana. Thought we were in unclaimed waters. Then, one morning, a single ship approached. It wasn't big, wasn't threatening. No banners. Just a plain ironclad vessel. Lex narrowed her eyes. And? Rojas smirked. A man walked onto my ship like he owned the damn thing. Said he represented someone called, the Overseer. I knew that name, Blackwood's people. Hale leaned forward. What did he want? He didn't want anything, Rojas muttered. That's the thing. He didn't threaten me. Didn't demand tribute. He just, explained. Lex frowned. Explained what? Rojas pointed at the map. That everything on that river already belonged to Blackwood. The docks, the markets, the depots, the hidden supply caches, and even places I didn't know existed. His people ran it all. And they did it so well that I never even realized I was trespassing and surrounded. Hale sat back processing this. So what happened? Rojas exhaled. I turned my ships around and never went back. Lex scoffed. Just like that. Rojas gave her a knowing look. Tell me, would you fight a war when the other side has already won flawlessly? The Gulf's true ruler. Hale crossed his arms. So Blackwood doesn't just control the Mississippi, he controls everything that relies on it. Rojas nodded. The river is the lifeline of trade, food, resources, and they flow through his territory like veins in a body. He doesn't conquer because he doesn't need to. If you live near the Mississippi, you rely on him whether you realize it or not. Lex frowned. Then why hasn't he claimed the Gulf? Rojas chuckled. Because he doesn't have to. Texas and I fight over these waters like idiots while he profits from both of us. He lets us exhaust ourselves while his empire stays untouched. Hale let out a low whistle. And now we've dragged him into our war. Rojas sighed, rubbing his temples. Exactly. Which means one of two things. Either Blackwood sees something in your alliance, or he's already playing a much bigger game than you realize. Lex smirked. Then maybe it's time we start playing on his level. Rojas chuckled, shaking his head. If you think you can, girl, then you're even crazier than I am. Hale clenched his fists. Blackwood was no ordinary warlord. He wasn't a tyrant, wasn't a conqueror. He was something far worse. He was inevitable. 2 kings, 2 rivers. The dim lantern light flickered against the stone walls of the hideout. Zeke leaned over a wooden table, studying the map of Texas spread across it. Across from him Samira sat with her arms crossed, waiting for the messenger to spill what he knew. The young courier, sweating from the long ride, pulled a sealed letter from his satchel. This is from Naomi. She wanted you to see this first. Zeke took the letter, breaking the seal with his knife. As he read, his usual cocky smirk faded into something more serious. Samira noticed. What is it? She asked. Zeke set the letter down and exhaled. It's about Blackwood. Samira sat forward. What about him? Zeke tapped the map. My sister Naomi just confirmed what I already figured, Blackwood's backing Eleanor and High Noon. Samira's stomach tightened. That means we have the biggest power in the Mississippi behind us. That should be good news. Zeke chuckled. But there was no humor in it. It ain't bad news. But it's complicated. Samira frowned. Complicated how? Zeke leaned back in his chair staring at the ceiling for a moment before looking at her. You ever wonder why I never expanded east? She narrowed her eyes. Because High Noon has enough problems with Texas. Zeke shook his head. That's what everyone thinks. But the real reason is Blackwood. A meeting with the Mississippi King. Zeke ran a hand over his beard while lost in memory. Few years back, I tried to push my reach toward Louisiana. Figured if I could get a foothold near the Mississippi I'd have access to better farmland. Didn't realize that land was already spoken for. Samira tilted her head. Let me guess Blackwood didn't take kindly to that. Zeke smirked. Didn't even need to say a word. My men rode into what we thought was an abandoned stretch of land. First day? Nothing. Second day? We started noticing things missing, food, supplies, even horses. Samira frowned. Sabotage? Zeke nodded. We never saw a damn soul, but they saw us. On the third day I woke up to find a single man sitting by my fire, sipping my damn coffee. Samira raised an eyebrow. One guy. Just one, Zeke confirmed. Didn't have a gun, didn't have a weapon. Just looked at me and said, "You're trespassing." Blackwood says turn back. Samira scoffed. And you just left? Zeke laughed. Hell no. I told him we weren't going anywhere. His smirk faded. By the fourth day my men started going hungry. By the fifth my water supply was cut. By the sixth I realized we'd already lost. Samira sat back, processing. He didn't fight you. He just let the land do the work. Zeke nodded. That's how Blackwood operates. He doesn't need to conquer because he already owns everything that matters. He tapped the map. I control the Colorado River and it makes my land big. But Blackwood? He controls the Mississippi and every damn piece of good farmland worth having.